Welcome, Miss Nosimilo Mthmkhulu to Young Kingdom Entrepreneurs Network. It's a very, very great honor. It's a very, very great honor to have you on our platform. Thank you for availing yourself to share your entrepreneurship journey with us. Your journey is very exciting. Most importantly, you're a woman. You formed such a very formidable company in the accounting and tech space. And we just want to hear your journey as an entrepreneur, how it all started, and how did you get to where you are today? Being Young Kingdom Entrepreneurs Network, we also very, very keen on also understanding your journey with God throughout building this company, throughout all the challenges and all the good times in your company. And we just want to hear your story and share it to the entrepreneurs on our platform that can probably motivate them and inspire them. Welcome once again. How did it all start?
Well, in all honesty, I'd say the power lies within network. So with my story, it's with the network that I had, the friends that I had. There were already one very good friend of mine was already in the accounting industry. She had started her own firm. She was inspired by another woman to go into business. And it seems the power in seeing somebody else succeed in business and then reaching back to pull the next person up. That's pretty much what happened with me, because my friend ventured into it. She was very successful. She said, "Nosi, you need to give this a go." And that was 4 years ago. And she spoke to me for the longest time trying to convince me, but it doesn't take much convincing when you can see the power of business working in the people around you. So even something like Young Kingdom Network, I'm pretty sure it's just as powerful in seeing the people around you succeeding.
Yes. Okay, you studied accounting, right? I know you have a Bachelor of Commerce in accounting, and you've also worked in corporate doing accounting. Now, was that the reason you entered into accounting? Was that a field you've always wanted to be in terms of business, or was it just backed by the fact that you have prior knowledge and prior experience in that field?
Okay, so I did not want to go into accounting. Reason being, I found that accounting in itself was a very tedious job in terms of sitting as an accountant and supposedly capturing invoices, capturing data. Even if you are fully qualified as a chartered accountant, they say you work for the whole year and you only get 2 weeks off at the end of for the holidays. So it seemed such a burdensome job that I always say that even after I qualify, I wanted to get out of it. So in all honesty, what got me into it was I now had the knowledge, which was obviously from schooling. I started accounting from high school, carried on with it because I loved the subject, carried on with it in varsity, but then the actual work was not exciting. So the work became exciting with the changes in technology, which made capturing much easier, which meant interpreting financial information much easier, so you can actually add value into a business real time. So when I began to see that change in the industry, that got me excited. And then I decided to go for it.
So it was mainly seeing the opportunity in the industry that made you like, go for it.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, then now you're going into accounting, you're going straight to start a business, Abo Grande. You both working at the same time in corporate. How did you go about that? Like, you're working in corporate, you're starting your business. Did you stop everything and jump directly into entrepreneurship, or you worked while you're starting your business?
Okay, so as I mentioned, I was in PE at the time when I made the decision. And when my friend called me, she was in Joburg. And the thing is, the PE market is not, you don't have as many startup companies or budding entrepreneurs who are willing to take on an unknown accountant or a single accountant. It's normally established business firms. So in Joburg, you've got more of an entrepreneurial spirit amongst the youth and amongst people in general. So obviously the market was in Joburg. And I remember asking my friend, what would you advise? Do you advise that I apply for a job, or I go straight for this business? And her advice to me was, if you go for a job, you'll never fully get into the business because you'll get comfortable or it will take too much of your time. So just go for it. Just start the business. So at that point, I basically submitted my contract, took a one-way ticket to Joburg, and started an accounting firm. So that's what happened with me. But that said, it's not something that I would advise for everyone. I believe if I was in a situation where the market was actually in the same area that I was in, then it's just a matter of discipline to make sure you put in those hours during the weekend and you still put in your hours and in the workplace so that you can get that balance and you build that client base until you're in a position where you can actually leave your job to actually go full-time into industry. But I had some benefits in that I didn't have major responsibilities other than myself and my rent and, whereas in some cases you'll have your family, you'll have your kids, and it's not the most advisable thing to just take a plunge blindly. So I went for the plunge. It worked for me. But if you've got the discipline, I would advise that you go for part-time and go for and ease yourself into it. But on the other hand, it's also true. It's very easy to get comfortable in your day job and not give the full attention you need to the business. So you need to know yourself and see if you really want to make this work, how would you need to approach it?
Oh, wow. Okay, that's a very great response. Tell me, what was going on, though, through your mind at that time? Because here you are, you're getting a fixed salary. You probably have like good contracts within the company you're working for, and they're taking good care of you. And you're jumping directly to entrepreneurship. As you said, you had been inspired by other women who did that directly. But in your mind, internally, what was the dialogue that's going on? Should I leave this completely, or should I just stay? Like, what was going on in your mind, the dialogue going on?
I was crazy. I'm joking.
Yeah.
No, honestly, the passion wasn't there for me. At that time, I was an auditor, and the passion for me as an auditor wasn't there for me. And that I always felt that the job in itself isn't adding value. I kind of felt like when we walk into a client's place, we're only dealing with information that's historic to them. It's not their current information. So for one, I wasn't attached as passionately. And then secondly, at some point, everyone has that dream to be their own boss. So I still had that in me. And I believed that I'm still in a position where I'm young and I can actually take advantage of this opportunity, because you hear a lot of people later on in their years where they say, you know what, I wish I had started this earlier, or I wish I had done this earlier. So I was at a point where I would look at my situation and I think, I think if I'm going to take this plunge, or if I'm going to take this opportunity, now is as good a time as any. And so I wasn't as passionate about the job that I was doing. It was a daily drill in terms of, the dedication as an employee, but you feel that you're putting in all the hours and all the work for the employer, and it's almost like a dead-end job. So at some point you want to see yourself adding value and changing the world in some kind of way. So
okay, that's awesome. Then tell me, you're going into business. How your parents, your upbringing, how did that play a role in your life? to say you can be an entrepreneur? Were the people around you who are entrepreneurs who made it easy for you in terms of your family and in terms of your upbringing? Were you around entrepreneurs as well in your family as you were growing up, or it just started all with you?
All right. So with my family, I think they never really pushed for being an entrepreneur or being in a full-time job. So from what I saw at different stages of their lives, that my mom would be an entrepreneur, which was later on in her life. But in the earlier years, she was full-time employed. My dad, earlier years, he was an entrepreneur. And later years, he was full-time employed. And in both, you were able to see the benefits. So for example, with my dad, he would work long hours, but then he would be available for our whatever school events we had. You'll be able to come for sports days. You'll be able to come for consultations. You'll be able to pick us up and drop us off where we need to go somewhere where it's during official business hours. So he had that flexibility, regardless of the fact that he was working long hours. He could still plan when he needs to work and when he needs to deal with the family, or be with the family, let me say. Whereas with my mom, for most of those years, she would be able to it would be an 8 to 5 scenario. But then in later years, she retired. Now she's running a business and she's got that flexibility. So if she misses generations in the evening, you will find in the morning she decides, no, I am going to come into work later, because she's got that flexibility. But even so, in having full-time jobs, they had benefits. They had company cars, they had medical aid, they had just the normal pension, the normal benefits which come with corporate. So there was none which was frowned upon than the other. But I'll definitely say when things took a bad turn in Zim, the businesses seemed to hold us up much better than than the jobs, because you were able to change the income on a faster rate. You were able to change or to adjust to the economy faster than the job is able to adjust.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. I hear you. I've seen with a lot of the reason I'm asking this question, we've seen with a lot of entrepreneurs, most of the time, they come from that environment where they were around entrepreneurs. Maybe their father, mother, uncle was an entrepreneur, and then that spirit just carries on with them. And I think with Zimbabwe, like what's happening, most people find themselves like juggling between the two, job and business, which works very perfectly, for most people in the country, having spoken to a few of them. Yes. Now tell me, what separates Abo Grande? What separates Nosimilo Mthmkhulu as the CEO of Abo Grande in your market? What is that thing that makes you guys set apart from your competitors and for people to constantly be coming to you? And the reason I'm asking this question is that I want also the entrepreneurs on our platform to understand the different dynamics and principles that set businesses apart and constantly make it thrive. You've been running for 4 to 5 years now, but you formed such a formidable company. What separates you? What brings the people to you and keeps them staying in your company?
Okay. Well, obviously, there's a lot of things that can separate or distinguish a company from the other. So with our case, definitely it's the personal touch, and that we do have the employees, but I've got a personal relationship with all the clients that we have. So in that case, I know what is going on in their businesses. I know to some extent, and some I even know what's going on in their lives, because once they open up their finances to you, they open up their whole situation to you. So that personal touch is not something that you can always get in an accounting firm, because some simply want your bank statements, they do the number crunching, they submit it back to you. With us, we sit down with our clients and help you understand what the numbers mean. We try and sit down with you and say, in what direction are you taking the company to? Where are you going? We try to understand you and your own risk and have a whole wholesome look at your situation. So it's definitely the personal touch, I would say. We know all our clients by name pretty well, like their family.
Then how are you planning to manage that as the business grows?
It would have to be, because we want to continue working from home. That's what we're considering at the moment. So at the moment, what we do is, even though a lot of the items are automated, on a monthly basis, we still have the monthly meetings where we sit down with the client and we discuss in detail what the figures mean, what the numbers mean, and make sure that there's an understanding. So that's something that we're never going to take away, no matter how big the firm is. And then as we're growing, the employees, because it's senior personnel as well, people who actually have a sound understanding of the business, they'll form that relationship with the clients, so that when the client is in Limpopo and is thinking, I want to buy this car, but I don't know if it's a good idea to buy this delivery truck, they can pick up the phone and they say, what's the tax impact if I do this? And what about, VAT? What do I need to request? So they still will always have that person that they can call on and rely on for that financial advice, even though it may not necessarily always be me, but there should be a qualified accountant who is there that's always ready to assist. And that's the kind of clientele, the stuff that we're building at the moment.
Okay. And then you spoke about technology, how technology enabled you to see an opportunity in the accounting space, which led to the founding of Abo Grande. Tell us today, with the huge transition in technology happening at a very fast rate, what are the opportunities you're still seeing that you can use to take advantage of through technology in your field in accounting and tax?
There's a lot of operations. Accounting, as I mentioned earlier, I wasn't so passionate about it because it's so repetitive. There's a lot of items that can be automated. And that's what we're working on in the systems. So even with the software that we're using, it's constantly developing, constantly trying to meet the needs of the accountants. So the better the technology is, the better the service that we can offer our clients. So that's the opportunity that still lies in that. And as we bring that to our clients, then we can truly have them in a position where they can focus on building their business and growing their business instead of worrying about the admin and compliance and tax issues that's constantly on your back trying to bring you down.
Okay. Thank you for that response. I hear the technology part. Now I want to move to something different. You're a woman.
Okay.
We're living in a society that some people describe as patriarchal. How have you been able, what are the challenges that you faced in this space as a woman? And I know accounting is very, challenges you faced, in this space. I know accounting is male-dominated industry. What are the challenges that you faced, and how have you been able to go through them as a woman?
Okay, so the greatest challenges really that we face is as a woman, sometimes you have a situation where you try and secure a client or have a meeting with a client, but for some reason they don't take you seriously as a woman. So in such a case, it's maybe umuntu uzama ukushela or something. So in some cases, you can still convert that person, have them see your resources, what you can offer, and they'll have a change of mindset and decide that they will appoint you as their accountant. But the most heartbreaking one, I think, for us is we've had, I think, 3 situations where we've come across human traffickers who come to us pretending that they're interested in our services, but in actual fact, they're constantly trying to bring our employees outside of the country, either take them to Mauritius, take them to Ireland, take them to Dubai, and try and convince us that there's huge opportunities there. And initially it was confusing for us, but eventually we figured out, no, it was confusing in that we kept telling them the work that we do is basically internet based, so it can be done we can do everything from Joburg. But eventually we noticed that actually they were not looking for actual accountants. They were actually just trying to get people out, and that's scary in that you've got people who are really beautiful women, really driven. They dedicate themselves to the business, and you have people who try and take advantage of them for the most evil ideas. I don't even want to think about what they would have had in mind for them. So that's scary in that, as in business, we put ourselves out there to meet total strangers, and you don't know what the next person on the other end actually has in mind. So you constantly have to be assessing how genuine that people are. And I must say, I think really human trafficking in SA is actually becoming a bit of a pandemic. And I think it's not quite as, not as many people realize how serious the issue has become. So as women, we are extra vulnerable to that.
Wow, okay. We just prayed goals. We prayed goals. I didn't know about that. I didn't know that it actually goes in, like, in terms of people recruiting you for jobs and all of that. But we're living in such a world. We're living in such a world. When you deal with those things, then, like, do you report it to the police, or what happens, or it's something that you solve internally within the organization?
In most cases, we've identified the risk before anything actually happens. When the story doesn't tie up, when certain things don't align, you start to pick up that something doesn't make sense. So those are the cases where I remember the first time we were actually really nervous. We wrote out statements in case somebody disappeared, so that the police would be able to find out, because it had actually gotten to a point where we've met that individual a number of times. Fortunately, since then, when we come across people who've got similar stories about Congo, politicians, Mauritius, we quickly tie up the notes, and we know, like, okay, this one is this one is one of those. We can identify it faster. So when it's not tying up, we see it. When they start talking about sending somebody abroad, we see it. It's almost as if they've got the same story, whether they're working from the same brigade, I do not know, but they have the same story. I'm putting word out there. If you hear funny things, ladies, please be careful. Talk to your relatives. Check the background. Some of them have got paperwork which looks very legit. Just a shout out there to the ladies. Be careful. When something is too good to be really true, be careful. Please pray about it. Just putting it out there. We haven't reported anything as yet. We haven't had a situation where things got out of hand. We managed to get out before things got out of hand. So that's been, I think that's enough said for now.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. Being a woman entrepreneur, what are some of the women that have been an inspiration to your life in your journey as an entrepreneur?
The greatest inspiration for me would be somebody that I've seen close up in building their business from scratch and actually making it work. And that for me was really my mom, because the way, as I mentioned earlier, she started her business later on after being in corporate for the longest time. And the way she got into business, it was an internet cafe and a marketing company. I can vouch that she had absolutely no experience in any of the two. She bought printers, she bought computers, laptops, connected internet, and basically she was a person who was so driven to make something happen, and she did. And that for me is the greatest inspiration, because that's a long-standing company. 10 years later, she's still operating. It's still a business that's taking care of the family back home. And it's actually not the first time she had actually started a business. She had started a lodge. Same thing, get up, wake up one day, go ahead and do it. And that kind of drive to say, yes, it can be done, and having absolutely no doubt in the dream and the vision and the mission, that is something that when I look at her, I think is absolutely amazing. And it's something that makes me believe that, yes, it is possible. Okay. So I definitely look up to her. Yeah.
It seems like you did follow your mom. You said she just leaves everything and goes and start the business.
Yes, so
that's exactly what you did.
That's why she's an inspiration, you see. You can see she's the inspiration.
Okay. Now, we at Young Kingdom Entrepreneurs Network, as I said in the beginning, we want to capture the entrepreneur's journey with God as well, how God has helped you to build this company. I want to ask you, what are those core kingdom beliefs and principles that you have followed as a person to both grow personally and also to grow your business?
I'd say definitely serving with love. That's something that biblically, when Paul was teaching, he said, anything that you do, no matter how good or great you are in what it is that you do, if you don't do it with love, it will not resonate as well with the people. So for what we do, like I said, that being our differentiating point, we do it knowing that we're dealing with we're dealing with people, we're dealing with human beings. Everything that we do it, we serve with love. We taught not to worry. So that's the blind faith. That's the blind faith that you need in business. That's something that every business person needs. You gotta believe that somehow you're gonna be able to make payroll at the end of the month. You're going to be able to deliver on your contracts. God is constantly turning up for us. So it's just that blind faith to say, I don't know how we're going to do it, but then believing that we're going to do it. And then simply patience. I think we just set our goals, we make our plans, and we decide, you know what, by the end of the year, I'm going to be a millionaire. And it doesn't always work out like that. Next time. So that patience to just continuously put in the work and believing that it's going to come through. There's a number of principles as you're going through different challenges. There's a lot of things in the word that will speak to you. But it just, on a general note, I think those are things that really stand out to me, to have that faith, to not worry, and to serve in love when you're dealing with people. Okay.
Thank you so much for sharing some things to keep us going through the journey. And then you do think what you have, this gift you have to start a business and grow it, do you think it's a grace from God that you have, or you just take it as something that's just there for anyone? And if it's a grace you have from God, what do you think it is the importance of it in the kingdom of God?
We serve in whichever position that God puts us in, right? I've become an entrepreneur. Even if I was an employee, I would have continued to serve as an employee. But as an entrepreneur, I think it's I still serve in God's kingdom, in that I can be inspirational to the youth or to people who are starting their businesses, because we've got a lot of challenges in our communities right now where there's high unemployment. And it's one of the things where you can say to a person, you don't have to rely on the next person to say, come, let me give you a job. You can look within yourself and say, what is it that I can offer that people were willing to pay me for?
Yeah.
And in as much as I was inspired by the next person and I saw the success from the next person in doing that, and having her talk to me and say, get up, you can do it. That's the same role and the same responsibility that I carry for the next person, to be that light, to say, yes, you can. You've got everything within you already that you need to do what you want to accomplish. So it's not necessarily always has to be, now you have to be an entrepreneur. In the same way, not everybody has to be a pastor. Not everybody needs to be, an usher. We all have our different roles. Not everybody needs to be an entrepreneur. But then for those who want to be an entrepreneur, it's our job is to be there, to say, it's not easy, but I'll hold your hand on and I'll take you through it.
Okay. Thanks for that. And then one of the important thing of this platform is also just to train entrepreneurs to create those businesses and to create that wealth, but also to be people who give back into advancing the kingdom of God. And we push for things such as tithing, giving, not to this organization, but to your local church. Can you tell me what is the importance of tithing, giving, offering to God from the money that you receive from your business?
And even just tithing is one of the principles of business that we get from the Bible, because in us tithing, we actually open up more room for blessings. So that's scriptural. There's something that is even non-negotiable. By holding on to it, we're actually crippling ourselves. So we make sure that from the income that we get, we actually do tithe, because we know for a fact that the first fruit is what opens you up for more blessings. So that's something that is undisputable. In the church, you got to give. That's the only way you can open up for blessings.
Okay. Yeah, you must advise entrepreneurs to do that. Even in challenging times,
my pastor will tell you that. If you've got challenges in your business, he'll ask you, when did you last tithe? But on a real, it opens up blessings.
Yes. It's a very, very powerful principle, which I really wish people can learn on the platform and be a constant practice. Yes. And it shows like where your source is at. Is your source your business, or is your source God? It really shows that. Definitely. But yeah, and then what's the role of your local church, the church you are in right now, in building you up? What has been that role that helped you as an entrepreneur to build you up, to become a better person, to become a better entrepreneur, and just a citizen of society?
Their role has been feeding me the word every Sunday, making sure that they get me straight. So that's a very key thing to kind of to reset yourself in the word. So that's been pretty key for me. I haven't been involved in the church with regards to as much as I used to be in my younger days and in other activities, but my local church, even for businesses, is very involved in that. We've got a mission to build 1,000 churches by the end of the year. It's something that is being worked on. So in that, there's a lot of opportunities that are being given within the church for businesses that are contractors, for construction, even accountants, a various number of industries that are actually needed in making that will happen. They first pitch it to the church, and I think what I love about it is they make the language of business and money not a taboo thing.
Yeah.
But we're able to say, let's put our hands together with the resources that we have and build what we need to build. Not some will donate a certain portion. Some, the services will need to be paid for. We don't want to cripple businesses, but at the end of the day, it's an open language in which people can then see how they can grow with their businesses and grow within their church, and also in the world, how the business is conducted. So in the same way you conduct your business with the church, you do the same out there in the world with integrity.
Wow, thank you so much for that. COVID-19, we've been in a very, very, very tough year for businesses. Some businesses have actually had it well. Some businesses have faced very, very serious challenges during that time. How were you able to thrive through COVID-19? And what has been the importance of God during this time in things such as faith, prayer, studying the word, just to always have faith during these times?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, when you say thrive, it's an interesting one. Okay, so with us, we had quite a few businesses where fortunately none of our clients did fold, though a lot of them did struggle during that phase in terms of loss of business, in terms of that non-continuity of their everyday operations. So with us, we were able to, and some were able to thrive. For example, there are some industries which were able to perform in the essential services. So they were able to keep going. With us, the adjustments that we needed to make was for those who were struggling, we had to change the services that we offer then in that case and help them apply for loans, help them make sure that they are compliant. And we got additional clients with people who needed to apply for UIF for their clients and TERS and the SMME grants. So with that, we actually were able to adapt our services to align with the situation with the COVID-19, but also recognizing the fact that the reason why we had to now do these services was because a lot of these companies were actually going through very tough periods. And with us, it meant a lot of sleepless nights because you knew that if this is not submitted on time, if this work is not done, there are still families going out there without receiving their grants or without receiving their UIF. So it was a very stressful time for us, but we were able to keep going because we still were able to our clients and to adjust our services that we were providing to our clients. So we kept going, but it was not an easy period for anyone, granted.
Oh, wow, that's good. You were very innovative in terms of the services you were offering during that time.
Yes.
And that's what people needed, hey? That's what people needed.
Yes, we adjust.
Yeah. I want to ask you right now, what are the things that you think, the qualities, the characters that you think make an entrepreneur a success or a business a success? With the experience that you've gotten right now in the few years you've had with building Apple Grande.
Okay. Now it's going to sound like I'm marketing my business as well.
The platform is here.
Okay. So number one, I'm going to say perseverance. Things don't happen overnight. So in the first year of operating for us, things were very slow. And the second year, I noticed out of nowhere, people were calling us. And as time went on, we were growing faster than we could actually manage. And that, had we given up in the first year, we would not have seen the potential of what could be there. So definitely perseverance. Secondly, the importance of being compliant. There's a lot of businesses that will get good contracts, good jobs, good opportunities, and they're able to pounce on them, make some good money, but because they don't handle their taxes well, they don't handle their compliance well, given 2-3 years, they've got tax issues that cannot be resolved. They've got compliance issues that buckle them down. And at the end of the day, they have to close shop and try and reinvent themselves under a different name or under a different company, or they simply give up and they say it didn't work. It was good while it lasted. So that's definitely one of the things that we push to say, build a solid foundation for your business. It may be costly at first to invest in certain things, like having accounting services, being compliant to SARS, Department of Labor. It's actually a lot to try and understand as a person who's focused in their particular industry. Say, for example, you're an engineer, but do invest in that. Also, invest in marketing, put your name out there, perseverance. At the end of the day, if you lay a solid foundation, you would find that you'll be able to grow your empire higher than your highest expectations.
Okay, well, thank you so much for that. And then, what are those lessons that you have learned in your company specifically that you'd say, I do not wish people can repeat this, from the mistakes you've made and all of that?
Sure, there's so many mistakes that we've made. Okay, I'd say we've had to adjust our workforce a number of times, particularly because there have been times when I initially started, my expectations were we're gonna blow out of proportion. So I started with a huge workforce. And then when I realized it wasn't happening as fast, we had to cut down on that workforce. And later on, when we were now getting clients, we were in a situation where we had too few people to handle the workload. So in that planning is very important. It's exceptionally important. And then also, I'd say debt management. It's very easy, especially if it's a small firm, for services to be performed, and then people then later on think twice about actually making payments. So regardless of what business you're in, at the end of the day, to keep you going, cash is king. Yes. So make sure that you are collecting that cash so that you can pay your rent, you can pay your employees, you can pay for your own bills, and understand, set the processes in place to actually manage your debt without having to make it awkward with your clients. So for example, something as simple as asking for a 40% deposit makes it easier for them to pay the balance. So simple things like that, sending reminders on statements and invoices, simple things like that help with debt collection. And obviously, again, to do that, you need a good accounting system. But simple things like that should be my advice. There's a number of things, but for now, cash is it's important. And pray. You don't know what's going to happen. Like when you wake up, when you get out of bed, you don't know what's going to come your way. There's going to be times when you really are in the dark and the answers come literally from God. So pray. If you pray, I think you'll stay and trust. I think you'll be able to hold on to your sanity.
The challenges of business. Thank you so much for that. We're about to cut this interview right now. I just want to ask you one last question, or not even a question, a word of advice, last word of advice that you'd like to give to our entrepreneurs on the platform. I've know you've spoken about the lessons you've learned and a lot of stuff throughout this interview, but one last word of advice that you wish people can take from this interview and run with it.
Okay. My last word of advice then would be, in everything you do, put God first. Okay. in this world, there's a lot of things that can distract us from what we want to achieve. But if you keep your eyes focused on God, it will keep you focused on your goals. There's a lot of distractions. Number 2, watch the network that you keep. Watch the company that you keep. Those are the people, without you paying much attention to it, influence a lot of your own thinking, a lot of your own thinking patterns, a lot of your own ambitions. If you really want to succeed, surround yourself with people that are successful or succeed or are on that same road with you, because they'll constantly inspire you when you are tired, when you're thinking, can it be done? Is it possible? And ultimately, it doesn't necessarily have to be you find the best mentors next door, or you may not always have access to such people. So read books. You'll have people who are dumping the knowledge of everything they've learned over a lifetime in their books. So read books. That's the same as changing your network, because they will influence and change the way you think. Listen to podcasts, read blogs. Just feed your mind with that information that you want to grow in that direction, and you will succeed.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ms. Nosimilo. Thank you for the time you've availed yourself to on our platform. We thank you so much for all the knowledge and wisdom you've shared here. Thank you so much. Hopefully we're going to have you back on our platform. You might take us through a masterclass on accounting, tax, and compliance, since that's very important for you. But we thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, and I'll be happy to come back again.
It's a real pleasure.